So he was George Washington's gardener then?
Yes, the stone was used by the Americans as a butcher block. And this is the last remnant of one of the rifle pits. Brock used to sit on this boulder while he was trying to figure out what the Americans were going to do. Good afternoon. I'm Donald Cowan. I have a long-standing association with this Church of St. Mark's and have been the sexton for some, 30-odd years. We're going to talk this afternoon about some of the monuments in the cemetery that I find interesting and I hope you'll find interesting. If you want to do further reading on the subject, I could recommend this book, which is for sale at the Niagara Historical Museum. It's a series of walking tours through all of the cemeteries in Niagara Township. George Washington, when he was establishing the garden at his estate at Mount Vernon, called on this man, David Cowan, who was what we would probably term a landscape architect. He lived in Scotland, and Washington had heard of him, and Washington hired him to come to Mount Vernon and work for him there. Well, as time proceeded, it was obvious to Washington that there was going to be a revolution, and it was going to be against the British. And so Washington provided safe passage from Mount Vernon to Upper Canada.
So he was George Washington's gardener then?
Yes.
When you would do your tours here of the cemetery, did you ever have Americans who thought that was intriguing, that George Washington's gardener is buried here?
Yes, they sort of don't believe it.
They don't believe that that's George Washington's gardener?
No.
Oh, okay.
But it's there on the stone.
I want to believe that it's George Washington's gardener.
Oh, so do I. So we'll go on with that.
Okay, so Donald, tell me about why is this called chopping block?
Mr. Morrison was at Fort Michilimackinac, where he was a trader. And he decided when Fort Michilimackinac was ceded to the American government, that he couldn't possibly live under the American flag and that he would return to a country where the flag of Britain was important and venerated. So he left Michilimackinac and came on his way to Montreal and to return to Britain. Unfortunately, we got to Niagara, and in 1802, he died here. And so on that monument is written those words. In 1813, the Americans had control of Niagara, and I think that they probably read the monument, which was bad-mouthing them. And I feel that the marks on the monument are defacing the monument. The story is, however, that the stone was used by the Americans as a butcher block, so they butchered the meat there. Other part of the story, which goes a little further, is that the stone was used in order to perform amputations. I don't think that's probably true, but you have the choice of three stories. But in 1813, when the Americans had captured Niagara and were in control, they dug a lot of rifle pits all through the town. And this is the last remnant of one of the rifle pits.
So that would have been used as a...
It would be a way so that the soldiers could run around without being shot in half from the other side.
Yes, yeah.
This is gossip, I guess, but the notion was that Brock used to sit on this boulder and look across at Fort Niagara while he was trying to figure out what the Americans were going to do. Were they going to attack this way or that way, or how is it going to be? And so that stone sat at the mouth of the Niagara River. Fast forward quite a few years when Mr. Kirby, who lived here and was a very busy and interesting historian, decided he would spend some of his money and bring this boulder from the river up here and put it in the cemetery for safe keeping. And so it's affectionately known as Brock's Seat. And strangely enough, if you sit on it, it's quite comfortable.
I mean, it looks comfortable.
And he would sit there and look that way. And this tablet in front explains that story. Just in case the story got lost, the story is there in stone. Thank you very much for being with us as we walk through the cemetery. I hope that you found it of interest and that perhaps one day you'll find your way here. We looked at a very, very few. We know that there are in excess of 2,000 people buried here. There aren't 2,000 monuments, but there are lots of them. And you might like to take a copy of this book with you as a help and guide when you're looking at the cemetery. Thank you again. Hopefully I will look out one day and see you walking in the cemetery.